Hi, I'm Ron Burgundy, and tonight on our broadcast, the 30th anniversary of the Syrian government's shift to democracy. Is it helping or hurting? Water levels are reaching a new high, and almost all animals are now on the endangered species list. Most people are wearing gas masks outside, and people are dying due to the lack of responsibility by public buildings to follow the new EPA regulations. What is the next move for the EPA? In foreign relations, the U.S. government is now allies with most of the Middle East. How much control do we have over them, and is it too much? This is Ron Burgundy with your nightly news. Syria has been in a state of peace and prosperity for the past 25 to 30 years after its change to democracy. They have reached a state where all their representatives in government are democratically elected by the people. But since the change, the U.S. government has had an increased role in the workings of the new democracy. Some might say the Syrian government is just a puppet for us to control. For more on this, we go to our State Department correspondent, Charles Bloodstone. Thank you, Brian. The Syrian government said they have no comment on how strong of a role the United States government has in running the country. But a first-year representative had this to say: "All I know is that U.S. diplomats have opened an office in the Capitol building and have made frequent trips from the West. We will just have to wait for more information to come out before we can jump to conclusions." This is Charles Bloodstone reporting from Damascus, Syria. Back to you, Brian. Thank you, Charles. In other news, the new hologram technology that most of you are watching on right now has been extremely popular, but it is creating a divide in our country. New statistics report that 80% of the people buying the new technology are members of the top 1% in our country, and TV and media broadcasting is now being switched solely to hologram technology. Experts are now saying that this is just another way for the top 1% to restrict the lower classes' access to the media and at the same time restricting the ability to know what goes on in the United States government. New EPA reports have come out, and the amount of pollutants in the air are 5 times what they were 10 years ago. The EPA is now making it mandatory that people wear gas masks 24/7 and also in their house if they do not have a conforming air filtration system and an airtight seal on the home. This increase in pollutants has led to an increase in animals on the endangered species list. Now 80% of animals on this planet are on the endangered species list and 40% of plants. The President is expected to address this issue with authority at her State of the Union address. The impacts of the quality of the air have been contained except for an increase in the size of human lungs due to the lack of oxygen. New studies have shown men are closing the gap between themselves and women. Men now make 87 cents to the woman's dollar, making it the smallest gap between them since women took over the top spot in 2030. The income differential between blacks and whites still remains equal. In other news, yesterday the final member of the KKK was shot at gunpoint after the acquittal at today's court hearing due to an expiration on the statute of limitations. He was then shot on the steps outside the courtroom. The deceased member would not have been executed had he been indicted due to the Supreme Court's ruling stating everyone has the right to life due to the 14th Amendment's right to life, liberty, and property. The amendment also says the Bill of Rights must apply to all state and local governments, and therefore all states had to pass a bill striking down the death penalty. The assassination of the former KKK member makes this the first day without a prejudice group in the history of our country, due to the fact that they all died away several years ago. President Williams said, "This is a great day for the history and the future of our great nation." President Williams has announced she will be getting a divorce from her husband. This does not come as a shock to the country because of his recent infidelities with staff members. The United Nations is putting forth regulations that every country adopt a third child law, stating no family can have a third child, and if they do, the child will be put up for adoption in hopes that a single child family will adopt it. The Secretary of State and President have expressed their opposition to the new rule, but it is to go forward as planned. Confidential military information has been leaked that United States military operations overseas are now being conducted covertly by the CIA. Recently, covert operatives went into Iran and disabled their nuclear laboratories. The United States is leading the new frontier in a 100% military switch to covert operations. Many people have expressed their opposition to the new switch because they fear the government will infringe on their right to privacy. In the case of Williams versus Smith, the Supreme Court stated the government has the right to infringe on privacy rights in the interest of national security. Justice Sotomayor, in her 110th year as a justice, said that the government had strict scrutiny, meaning they had the compelling interest of national security in order to keep our citizens safe. This is the largest increase in power for the federal government since the days of FDR. In the world of medicine, private drug companies have released a cure for Alzheimer's, in the form of a pill that can be taken twice daily for 2 months. The new magic pill is said to erase the virus completely from the brain, making it the latest medical advancement since a cure was found. In our Making a Difference segment tonight, we will look at Kristen Brown, a UCLA student who has found an easier, more convenient way for everyone to walk around in our increasingly polluted air. Kristen has come up with a device that is inserted into your esophagus. This device will filtrate the air coming in, but it is permanent, so there is no need for taking off and putting back on a gas mask. It costs only $20 and can be surgically implanted for $40. Most of the surgical costs will be covered by your federal health insurance. This is Ron Burgundy signing off. I hope you have a great evening and will tune in tomorrow. Thank you and good night.